idea. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
With this idea about making this short presentation,
Mm,
20-25 minutes.
yeah.
I think what is yin and yang,
Mm-hmm.
and what is yin yoga in the yin
Mm-hmm.
and yang.
Mm-hmm.
So what difference does it make in a person's life?
Mm,
Suppose a person is maybe practicing a yoga already,
mm-hmm.
but why should that person then also do yin yoga?
Mm.
What could be the benefit? So
So, I think first of all, we need to understand about why is it that we are doing any practices. So, in adopting a particular practice, ultimately we are trying to change the nature of the mind. Or in other words, we are trying to change the conditions of the mind. And we have strong habitual current conditioning that we hold on to very dearly, and we believe that they are real. We believe that they are part of who we are, and these are just different aspect and manifestation of that ego that we are all trying to protect. So in any practice that we do, ultimately we are trying to look at the nature of this particular conditioning that we have, the current pattern, habitual tendency, and we're trying to just come out of that. In Yin Yoga, this is a concept, the Yin and the Yang concept, based on what the Chinese in the ancient past they have developed this particular concept. The Chinese believe in order to establish a particular subject, and in order to understand this particular subject intensely, you need to first of all establish the opposite. So in order to understand yin, you probably, it will be easier for us to understand the opposite, which is the yang nature. And when we are sort of trying to understand the yang nature, the first thing that really comes to mind is the sun energy. Yeah. And the sun is really about daytime. It's about providing light on earth. Yeah. And it's about heat. Yeah. It is about transparency, apparent, can be clearly seen, can be clearly understood. The nature of that energy is heat. It is then an uprising energy and expansive in nature. So, yang energy or yang as a concept has many related ideas. And yin is just the opposite of that. Yin, when we look at yin, we think of the moon energy. We think about cooling. The moon is cooling down. So we think about stillness, calmness, consolidation of our energy, submersion, sometimes in a way hidden, unclear, because it is submerged. And the energy is moving downwards. So Yin Yoga actually would be a kind of yoga that provides that level of relaxation, calmness, stillness, the kind of cooling effect to the body. So this would be a general understanding of the nature of the practice itself. In many forms of yang yoga that we are engaging today, they emphasize a lot on muscular stretching, muscular contraction, emphasizing a lot on strengthening, using strength to perform, propelling into action and more dynamic action, you always see that there is more heat that is generated in the body. The nature of those practices are uprising and expansive in nature. In yin, we choose to go the opposite by letting go of the entire physical dimension. We are not encouraging so much on muscular contraction. We in fact encourage muscular relaxation. We encourage stillness in the body. We encourage coming into that state of silence within ourselves. And we are trying to let go and let be without expectation of how much we could do or how much we have done in the past. Just coming back to this present moment and being there, with ourselves, and be comfortable with the fact that we are just there, adopting a pose, and looking at how we could make ourselves comfortable in that nature. Yeah.
And so, like you said, then for people who are practicing the yang yoga, then what do they need to leave behind yang yoga, yang system of yoga when they want to practice yin yoga?
You see, the Chinese look at yin and yang as complementary towards each other. In fact, when there is no yang, there won't be yin. And when there is no yin, then the existence of yang will not be there. And we said that the heaven is yang and the earth is yin, as Chinese. And what that really means is that from the heaven, everything is giving. This is the nature of heaven, and this is that energy that will always be there descending downwards. From the earth, it is always trying to ascend. It's trying to cling on the supportive nature and move up. And this is that nature. Now, anything that wants to move upwards needs to be first gripping onto a strong foundation. So the yin nature is such that it is a supportive nature, a nurturing nature that allows the subject itself to cling on or to be supportive. And the yang energy is the one that will assist in this rising up, to bring up. So let's take, for example, a seed, and if you are throwing the seed up in the air, it can't be whole in the air. So it has to drop down to somewhere. It has to drop to the earth. And when the earth is holding this seed, is supporting this seed, then the yang energy is going to provide that uprising conditions. So in nature, everything moves from below, moving up. And this is the yin and yang aspect of coming into that understanding of complementary energy, assisting each other and nurturing each other, transforming each other. So in practicing yin, we are not really advocating people to leave their system of practice. The only reason why we are actually encouraging more people to practice yin is because we see that the current nature of yoga practices are very dynamic in nature. And we would like to bring about the awareness that there is a lot of benefit, or there are equal amount of benefit, by letting go of the physical body, by not contractually holding on to the muscles, but relaxing and letting go, by cultivating that sense of patience and stillness, that there are equal benefit to any form of dynamic practices that are out there. In yin, you addresses deeper layers of the tissues in the body, and it goes beyond by actually working into the meridians of the body itself. So the Indian systems talks about the nadis, the Chinese talks about the meridians, and primarily the 12 meridians in the body works around the limbs of the body. So the limbs of the bodies are actually what you can see as an extension of the main body. By working on the 12 meridians surrounding the limbs of the body, you are actually trying to vibrate or provide a vibration and stimulation back into the center of the body where the 5 organs exist. So you are manipulating the limbs, but the reality of that is you are providing energy back into the main body where it stimulates the 5 main organs. So this is what is happening in Yin. By adopting a particular pose that works along a main meridians in the body, holding it longer amount of time in an uncontrived way, in a way that you could relax into, and allowing the mind to focus into that area of work, you actually stimulates the meridians in the body. Yeah.
And so this is also a part of a self-healing process, is it?
Yeah, we actually see healing taking place by, first of all, allowing the body to be free from anxiety. And in Yin, we emphasize a lot on coming into an organic state of your being. Yeah. And when you are in that state where you are free from anxiety, free from worries, free from desire, free from clinging attachment, then you find that, that is your most natural state. And when you are in your most natural state, the energy naturally flows. So we want to emphasize that, you could actually allow the physical body to come back into that state that is free from tension. And when you are able to then feel that in your physical dimension, then the emotion and the mental dimension is able to complement that better. So in a way, you start by working on this physical body by letting go of all your muscles, by not allowing the muscles to be in a state of tension and anxiety. And then you allow the mind to settle into the body. Yeah. And you are there, to watch all sensation. You are there to feel, any kind of emotion, any kind of sensation that surface. And you're more sensitive to that because you are in a state of stillness and your body is entirely relaxed. As we are watching over this body, as we stay still and stay relaxed, we are not trying to provide a judgment or any analysis, any explanation. We are just allowing our feelings to be. We are just allowing sensations to be. Yeah, they are just sensation and they are just feeling, and we are just looking at them, watching over them. We are not trying to label them, we are not trying to analyze them, categorize them, or to give a judgment on them, And the more ability we have in doing that, the more objective we can be towards our own feeling and sensation. Yeah. So eventually, when you are able to look at feelings as feeling, sensation as sensation, you free yourself from having to react upon anything, from having that, you're free from that desire to wanting to act upon anything, and you can just look at them in an objective way. Yeah. So Yin Yoga has that ability, and that is actually what we are trying to cultivate at the end of the day. Too much light. Okay. So many people would like to know about what would be the purpose of retreat. And I guess first of all we have to look at retreat as an extension of our learning. As I continue to teach yoga, there has been a lot of requests about training, and that is good, and everybody is sort of more focused on training, and they wanted a lot of training. But the training itself has to be put into practice. And without giving yourself that time and space to totally immerse into the practice, the training itself is sort of wasted. So the first thing that we would like to understand about coming into a retreat is that it is really an extension of our learning. If you have been to a lot of training and you have not done any retreat, perhaps it is really good to really think about spending time to come into a retreat environment to be totally immersed in the practice. When you come into a retreat, you are first letting go of mundane responsibilities. Yeah. And you have been in that cycle of routine in your daily life that you are constantly expected to perform, act in a certain way, and you have many different kinds of duties that surrounds you. So you are always thinking in a set manner. So you are being boxed up in your thinking. And you are in that cycle of thinking. So when you come into a retreat, you are letting go of your daily responsibilities. You are letting go of the different roles that you are trying to play in your daily life. And when you are shed of expectation from others or how you should perform, and you are shed of the daily responsibilities, then you come into a stage of freedom where you can just be you. You can just be yourself without that multiple identity of being a teacher, being a mother, being the daughter of somebody, So you can just allow yourself to be, simply. And you come into that environment where you can just totally immerse yourself in the practice and to feel the practice. So in your training and in many forms of training, it appeals more to the logical mind. And this is how we all learn, through logic. Yeah. So this logical mind is summing up everything, and everything has to come into a particular quantity and amount. It all should add up for you. And this is how you learn initially. Then you can't actually come into a direct experience. When you have a true direct experience of the practice, then that is where true learning develops. Yeah. So any kind of logical learning that appeals to your logic, appeals to that sense of your ability to perceive and to understand, that itself is not going to help you in your ultimate learning. So, can we? Is it rolling? Okay. So any form of learning that appeals to your logic, that appeals to the way that you could perceive and you could understood, is never going to be a learning through direct experience. Again, one more time. Okay. So, any kind of learning that appeals to a person's logic, that appeals to a person's ability to perceive it and to understand it, is never going to be a learning that is experiential. And ultimately, all learning has to come from an experiential experience. So, what I really emphasize is about learning through direct experience. Yeah. And when we are coming into this retreat environment, we are really trying to learn the practice through direct experience. So the more experience we have in the practice, the more positive they are, then it propels us to be more motivated to stay with the practice. Yeah. So many yoga teachers and yoga students, when they first wake up in the morning and they look at their mats at the corner of the room, it is so difficult to be motivated to roll out that mat to come into a practice. And primarily, part of the reason is you do not have a direct experience of the practice. The positive effect of the practice has not been registered in this body. It has not been registered in every cell in this body. And when that happens, when you can then have repeated positive experience of the practice, and it deeply registers in every part of this body, then the motivation of the practice becomes natural. It becomes organic again, you know. And that is what I'm trying to emphasize, coming back to that natural state. Nothing is being contrived. You are not forced to do any particular practice. What you are just doing to yourself is just a reinforcement of a positive experience that you have in the past, and you're just coming back to that again. Yeah. So you really want to get into that place. Yeah. When you come into that place, everything becomes very natural to you. The practice becomes natural to you. You naturally want to practice more yin yoga. Yeah, and it will never be a very contrived situation for you. So the nature of retreat is that it allows us to come out from our daily duties to be who we are in its most natural form, and to allow us to have direct experience on the practice itself.
I think this covers that part. And so now, one thing now, this is my question: is it when we are talking, when you are explaining about the practices, the processes of doing yoga, or any kind of yoga for that matter, this is about healthy people who are able, who don't have problems, who don't have chronic conditions of their body. But for example, a person with a migraine and maybe a muscle dystrophy or a stomach pain in the same person, many physical conditions. So for those kind of people, how is this practice related?
So the first thing that we have to understand about any illnesses and disease is these imbalances within us. Yeah, and when there are imbalances within us, then sort of the body responds in a particular way. Yeah, the body is always trying to come into a state of equilibrium. It is always trying to seek equilibrium. The problem is when you are in a pattern of lifestyle that does not assist in coming back to that balance. In fact, it drifts away, further away from the balance. That's what aggravates the problem. Yeah. The biggest problem we have now in our society is this inability to come to a relaxed state, be it the physical body or the mind. Yeah. So you are always in that state of anxiety. You are always in the state of worries and fear. And therefore the body has to respond in a particular way to calm you down. Yeah. It has to produce more chemicals within you, to calm you down. Yeah. And you might be taking different kinds of medicines, to try to provide a more balanced inner environment. So you are not allowing yourself to come into this natural state of your being through self-help. Now, Yin Yoga naturally allows a person to access more into the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, and this is required for people to go into a state of relaxation. This is required for people to go into a state of good sleep. Is that you are able to come out from that fight and fright nature and to go into the opposite, to calm this mind. Then you are less likely to have anxiety within you. You are able to feel relaxation in your body, and eventually your sleep quality is going to improve. So there are so many examples of people with insomnia issue. After practicing Yin Yoga, they feel much better. They feel that they could actually sleep better. In fact, they have insomnia issue, but they sleep halfway down the practice of Yin Yoga. Okay, and they are surprised that they actually felt sleepy while they are doing those poses, because they are patients with insomnia, and they would not have expected that they have such sensation, within the body itself. But when you are able to then access into the parasympathetic nervous system and calm this mind and achieve this peace within your inner environment, then everything comes back to that organic state, the natural state. Yeah. As I mentioned, the inner environment is always trying to find balance within itself. We only need to assist in that process. Yeah. And the way that we need to assist that from happening is that we actually watch our lifestyle. We look at what we are eating. We look at eating at the right amount, right time, and we look at watching our sleeping pattern, making sure that we are sleeping the right amount at the right time as well, and that our physical engagement with the mundane world, they are kept in check. Yeah, there are time for more engagement. There are time for disengagement. That we are disciplined, in fact, that we want to come into a disciplined lifestyle, that we can organize ourselves in a way that we help this self-seeking balance that is already happening in our body. And if we are living in a lifestyle that assists this process, then you find that you always have good health. Yeah, this is the best health insurance. This is the best health prevention. Yeah. So this is a very important realization as a yoga practitioner.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, okay.
You want to speak a little more, or you want to take a break?
Maybe it's okay. It's enough, I think.
Yeah.
I've talked so much.
I can actually, if you are okay, I want to actually dominate.
Yeah.
Just a small point, then we can finish.
Okay. Okay. So.
Yeah.
So we are always very fearful when disease strikes us. Yeah. The first thing that comes to attack is really not the disease itself, it's the fear of the disease. And I think that is the first realization that we need to, or that awareness that we need to know. Yeah. For example, if you go to the doctor today and you discover that you really have cancer, well, the cancer itself has not taken your life, but it is the fear of cancer that is already taking place at that moment in your mind. Yeah. Now we fail to realize that, every day, even when we are known to be well medically, that this body is full of viruses and bacteria. This is the reality. But why is it that these viruses and bacteria are not causing any trouble to you? And you can still call yourself healthy or be known as a healthy person. But all the viruses and bacteria are inside you already, you see. So the fear of the disease is sometimes more harmful than the disease itself. And this is going back to the most basic survival instinct of our human nature. Because the greatest fear that we're going to have in this life is the fear of extinction. It's the fear that we are not able to live on. That is the greatest fear. So even though the disease have not really attacked you, the fear of the disease has already done its harm. Yeah. Now, a lot of time, viruses and bacteria can coexist within this body itself. Yeah. Especially from traditional Chinese medicine point of view, we said that if the body has righteous energy, has a kind of the righteous energy that is protecting this body, if the body has enough of that, is producing enough of that, then no viruses and bacteria that exist within you could actually produce harm. Yeah. And you actually see cases like that. Same kind of cancer, some died within months, some live for a long time, and you have to then understand why that is so. In fact, in the medical world, we have very little understanding on behavior of viruses, impact on this body. We have very little understanding. Yeah, it might be cancer, it might be HIV. The signs and symptoms are all different because, when the viruses get into this body, it behaves, differently. Yeah, because of your habitual conditioning. Yeah.
So what are habitual conditioning?
So these habitual conditionings are your tendency of behavior. Yeah. And the viruses has the intelligence to behave in a way or to strike you in a way that is complementing that behavior. Yeah. So if the tendency is like you are always getting angry, if the tendency is you are always attached to things, clinging to things, then you will find that the behavior of the viruses will be the same. That it will have the same nature of attaching to this body, or creating anger in you more frequently. Yeah. What I believe is that all viruses and bacteria could coexist in your body. Yeah. But that has to come from a deep sense of realization that within this inner environment, this internal environment, it is a world of its own. Just like it is a world of its own when you see outside, when you look at this universe, it is a world of its own. When we look internally, this body, the internal environment of this body is a world of its own. And this world is a creation of diversity. It's a coexistence of diversity. Yeah, it is never a world that is created for any individual or any particular animal or plants. So in the same way, the nature of the universe is coexistence. And many different species, many different things could actually live together in an harmonious state. And as long as we are not overly depleting on one thing or another, yeah, then you find that everything will come into that state of balance. Now in the same way, in this inner environment, that if you are always coming back or allowing this body to come back to the state of the natural state, the state where it can come into the state of balance, the disease can be with you and you can still live for a long time. Yeah? You coexist with the disease for a long period of time and it has no way to harm you. Yeah. So this is an important understanding. And of course, along with that, to allow you to cope better in terms of coming back to that inner environment of equilibrium, various practices has to be done. Yeah, various practices has to be done. Yin yoga would be one of a very good one to address quickly about physical relaxation. Yeah. Then certain kind of meditation, yeah, certain kind of healing meditation and visualization, is going to bring about this inner environment balance. Yeah. So that is why the practice itself is critical. When you have certain kind of disease. Yeah. So the reason for you to practice would be to bring about a more balanced and harmonious inner environment. Yeah. If you are a healthy person, and if you are already putting this as a discipline in your daily life, then you definitely achieve good health, over a long time. Yeah. So that is really why is it that the practice becomes important for us. Yeah. We have to understand that this body, eventually, that is making up from the 5 elements, is going to be disintegrated. Somehow, disease comes at certain point in our life. So, the reality is, when we are doing this practice, even though when we are really healthy, and maybe for a certain moment you think that this is really not necessary, it is really necessary for the time when you needed it most. The power of the practice comes at the moment when you are most vulnerable. The power of this practice may not be clear to you when you are feeling strong, when you are feeling healthy. But because of this repeated good experience that has been registered in this body, the power of the practice comes about when you are most vulnerable, when you needed it most, that you could still achieve that state of equilibrium, that harmony within you, that inner peace within the inner environment.
Yeah, I think that is plenty. Thank you.
That's it.
Move down.
So we can really cut.
So, namaste.
Namaste.
What is your good name and what is your profession?
So my name is Sonam Paldran. I am a Tibetan doctor working at a Shijin clinic.
And so, in these modern times, people are so much used to allopathy medicine. But what is the value of Tibetan medicine?
Nowadays, I have lots of Western patients who's coming here and they are telling me that what are the benefits of Tibetan medicine because of what they have used, they have taken. Because one thing, Tibetan medicine, it's natural. It's mainly from herbs and minerals, and it doesn't have any side effect to your body. Even if you take, if you're not, you don't have any disease, you can take it. It's very good to make it like a tonic. So if you have a disease, it's very good for disease. If you don't have disease, it's work as a tonic. So I think it's very good. About allopathy medicine, I couldn't say much about allopathy medicine because I don't know anything of, I don't have any idea of allopathy medicine. But what the patients say that it harms later their life, it really harms them, maybe because of lots of chemical and this thing. So about Tibetan medicine, I can say it doesn't harm you in any case.
So for people who are very health conscious now, like they are using only organic food and like especially these people practicing yoga.
Yes.
And, do you suggest Tibetan medicine?
Yes, I definitely suggest Tibetan medicine. Like in Tibetan medicine also we have there's a 4 different steps to treatment. Like first like diet, and then behavior, and then medicine, and then therapy. So in this therapy we have a light therapy and a strong therapy. So in light therapy we have a massage, spa. So in this also we have some yoga also. So it includes in our treatment. So if person who's doing yoga, we suggest Tibetan medicine is okay with them. They can take.
So Tibetan medicine also incorporate yoga.
Yeah, they can also have yoga, like meditation means yoga means we do meditation, like inhale and exhale about this thing, and meditation, like, and because our Tibetan medicine is very much related with the Buddhist philosophy. So if you know Buddhist philosophy and if you are practicing Buddhist philosophy, so meditation is very important. So it's very related, not very near but distance. It's very related.
And so today you came to Nagarkot to meet these yoga practitioners.
Yeah, and they.
How do you feel when you are talking with them, when you are examining them?
I think when I talk to them, when I tell them about Tibetan medicine, they feel very interested and they come to see how we pulse read it, like how the techniques of Tibetan medicine, about pulse reading. I told them about pulse reading and also show them how they feel very interested, and I think they feel very happy.
And you feel good to share all.
Yes, and it's my pleasure, and I feel very happy to share our Tibetan medicine. Nowadays, most of the Western people and like Western country, Tibetan medicine is getting very popular. It's good.
Okay. And can you give me a short introduction about your career in Tibetan medicine? How many years you studied? Where did you study?
Okay, so actually I'm from Delhi, and I've studied my undergraduate in Delhi, some school, and after that I went to Varanasi, a place called Sarnath, and there we have one Tibetan institute where we study Buddhist philosophy, Tibetan medicine and Tibetan astrology. And for me, I have chosen to study Tibetan medicine, and for 4 years we have to learn Tibetan medicine and also Tibetan astrology together. And after that 5 years theory and then 1 year practical. So it means 10 years, of course.
And after that, how many years?
So after that I came to Shijin clinic to join, and now I have been working here since 4 years.
And what is your routine every day?
Routine every day is 9 to 4:30 to the clinic, and mostly I see 15 patients per day most of the time. But especially in the winter time, it's more than that because most of the remote people came to the Buddha, so it's more increasing.
Okay. And maybe last question.
Yes.
So what kind of people come for Tibetan medicine apart from the Tibetan people?
Apart from Tibetan, most of the people came. About the Western people, they are more of like wind people. We can say that arthritis people. Some also came for the cancer, and most of them they came for the chronic disease like gastric, because Tibetan medicine is very good for the chronic disease like gastric, diabetic, this kind of things. So most people came here like this. Okay.
And how about the women's illness?
Yes, there's also people women came for, because in Tibetan medicine we don't have one doctor like a gynecologist, pediatrician. Not all one doctor can see everything, like women, child, and everything. So we have a child patient, we have a woman patient, we have a man. Every kind of every age patient came here. No, I think if we can learn Tibetan medicine and we can spread Tibetan medicine through all, so I think it's good for them, for the health, for natural and everything. So I can only say this. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, definitely.